I've seen a lot of people rush to grab the cheapest binoculars they can find, only to end up with a pair that turns a simple birdwatching hike into a frustrating guessing game. The disappointment usually shows up when you need that extra bit of clarity or a precise distance reading, and the cheap optics just stare back at you with a blurry mess. That's why I wanted to test whether the Leica Geovid RSE 8x42 actually feels like a smarter purchase, or if it's just another pricey gimmick that lives in the same looks good, works bad lane as a lot of overhyped gear. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, I spent a weekend trying the binoculars in 3 very different scenarios: a shoreline walk where the horizon stretches for miles, a dense forest trail where light filters through the canopy, and a local shooting range where I needed a true range-finding readout. What immediately struck me was the balance between the classic Leica optical pedigree and the modern laser integration. The 8x42 HD system gives enough zoom to bring distant subjects into a comfortable view without turning the image into a shaky, hard-to-track mess. In the open, the wide field of view meant I could locate a distant boat on the water in a single glance, then lock in and get a range reading in seconds. That ease of target acquisition is where the Geovid really starts to earn its price tag. If you're a hunter who counts on quick, accurate distances, the built-in laser that reaches 500 meters is a real asset. I tested it on a medium-sized deer in the clearing, and the range readout snapped to 187 meters with a confidence that felt reliable enough to adjust my shot placement on the fly. For casual wildlife observers, that same feature can turn a day on the trail into a more interactive experience. You point, you shoot, you see exactly how far the elk is grazing, and you get a sense of scale you'd otherwise have to estimate. In places where fog can settle, the waterproof and fogproof rating kept the optics clear. I even tried them in a light drizzle and the view stayed crisp, no need to wipe the lenses constantly. However, the Leica isn't without its trade-offs. The built-in rangefinder adds a layer of complexity that some users might find unnecessary. If you're purely interested in birding or scenic viewing, you'll probably never tap the laser button, which means you're paying a premium for functionality you won't use. The system also draws a bit more power than traditional binoculars, so you'll need to keep an eye on battery life. In my tests, the batteries lasted about 8 hours of active use, which is fine for a single outing but could be limiting for multi-day trips unless you bring spares. The magnesium housing with rubber armor does give the binoculars a rugged feel, but the added weight, roughly a pound more than a standard 8x42 pair, makes them feel slightly heavier on the neck during long hikes. For someone who prioritizes featherlight gear, that could be a deal-breaker. Another point worth noting is the learning curve associated with the rangefinder overlay. When you first stare through the lenses, the laser readout sits in the lower right corner and can be a bit distracting until you get used to it. After a few minutes, it fades into the background, but for first-time users, the visual clutter can feel like a nuisance, especially if you're trying to enjoy a steady, uninterrupted view of a landscape. That said, the real-time distance data is displayed instantly, so once you acclimate, you have the convenience of not having to pull out a separate rangefinder or guess distances. Who should consider buying the Leica Geovid RSE? If you're a hunter, a professional guide, or anyone who frequently needs precise distance measurements outdoors, this binocular set offers a level of integration that eliminates the need to carry an extra gadget. The combination of high-definition optics and a reliable laser rangefinder in one package translates into fewer items to manage, less chance of misplacing equipment, and a streamlined workflow that can be the difference between a successful hunt and a missed opportunity. It also makes sense for serious birders who venture into open fields or mountainous terrain where distances matter for understanding flight patterns or identifying species at a range. On the flip side, if your primary use is casual birdwatching, scenic photography, or you simply enjoy short nature walks without the need for distance readings, you might be better off allocating that budget toward a pair of premium optics without the laser. The extra weight, battery management, and cost could feel unnecessary when the core purpose of your binoculars is just to observe. Likewise, anyone who prefers a minimalist setup, perhaps a backpacker who wants to keep every gram low, should look at lighter, non-rangefinder models. From a practical standpoint, The strengths of the Geovid RSE lie in its seamless integration of two tools that typically sit side by side in a hunter's kit. The 8x magnification paired with a 42mm objective lens delivers bright, well-contrasted images even in low-light conditions, and the wide field of view minimizes the need to